Hi there, crafty friends. Welcome and thank you for joining me. Today I thought we would make a card using the Postage Collage Peony stencil and the Postage Collage Frames dies. I am in love with these dies. I knew I wanted to use them as soon as I saw them. So I thought today we would use these two items because one of my crafty friends that's in my group, she was saying how she is out of birthday cards. And so I wanted to make a couple birthday cards to send her. She just has not had time to create lately. So I've got my paper all ready. I'm using my Sweet Petunia corner here, and stencil number 1 is our background. I am going to put that to the back, and we are going to start with stencil number 2, and stencil number 2 says light. So you want to do these in a light color. You can do whatever color you want actually, but that's just their suggestion. And I want different colors. So we will also bring in some masking tape. So we're all masked off and we're coming in with some springy colors. My first color here is Sunshine. I think we will do these purple. We can come in with Hydrangea. Everything I use today will be listed and linked in the description below. We don't want to be too heavy-handed here because we are going to come in with darker shades. Then we can move our tape around again. And now we can use pink. So I'm going to come in with some bubble gum. I want this to feel nice and cheery and bright. Then we can remove that stencil and see what we've got so far. Come back in with stencil number 2. I will tape that down. And you know, I really like this corner piece. It just really seems to help to align everything. So let's do our pink. Let's come in with bubblegum again, only this time we will go a little heavier. And I don't think we really need to mask here as long as we are careful. Coming back in with Sunshine again, only heavier. Then we've got Hydrangea. Let's get that wiped off. We can remove that and move on to stencil. This is actually stencil number 4. Now I'll come in with some sweet mustard for my yellow. And I think we should mask. And we're not going to go too heavy because we've still got one more stencil with flower parts. I moved those masks around and now we can come in with opulence and not too terribly heavy. I love peonies. Every time I go back to Minnesota in the summer, all the peonies are blooming. They are so pretty. Let's move those masks and then we can do our pink. And for that, we are bringing in Raspberry Bliss. I think Raspberry Bliss is my favorite pink. So now we can bring in stencil number 5, but we are using this as our 4th stencil. And we need to do some masking here. Let's mask off our flower centers and work on our green. So let's bring in Grassy Knoll first. Of course, my go-to greens. They just look so pretty together. When you mix Grassy Knoll and olive, I love them. So that's our Grassy Knoll. Then we'll bring in our olive and we will just highlight those leaves at the base just to get some shading in there. Let's wipe that off. So I got those masks off and now we need to just take a look and mask off any of the leaves that we might accidentally get flower color on. Let's start with our sweet mustard. And we'll come in pretty darn heavy on this stencil. Then we'll move on to Raspberry Bliss, then Opulence, That's looking good. So with our masks removed, we can take off that stencil and see what we've got. And I love it. I love those peonies. They look so pretty. Then we are bringing in stencil number 1. This was our first stencil that we put to the back, and we will do our background. And we are using sky blue. And I don't want this too terribly dark. I am going to hold the corner down just so that stencil doesn't move any. I think that should be good. And that is so pretty. I love that. And now I want to trim this out because we are using these images in our frames. I am bringing in my Postage Collage Blocks die, and we are going to cut our images out. And our images will just pop out perfect. So how has everybody been doing? I know it has been pretty darn cold across the US. It's not too bad here. And I love those. Those spring flower colors are just so cheery. So now I'm bringing in my Postage Collage Frames dies, and you get 6 dies in here. And we have 6 images. And I cut these from Spellbinders Indigo, and I stacked them. These are stacked 3 times. I am going to add 1 more frame to each of them because I want them a little bit thicker. So I'm just going to add another layer. So that way we have our frame 4 thick. It just gives it more dimension. And when I attach my picture in there, I want it to appear that it's inside the frame, not laying just right up next to the frame. So now all of my frames are stacked 4 thick, and I have trimmed a little piece of paper to go behind each one because if you look at it, when you put that picture in that frame, you can still kind of see a little bit of white space back there, and I didn't want that. So I'm just taking a trimmed piece of paper, putting a thin line of glue around that frame, and then I'll just add a little backer on there, just so we don't see any white through there. Then I will get my image inside of each frame. And these frames are great. You can print out pictures of your family, trim them out, and put them in these frames and make a personalized card. That would be really neat too. All right, so all of our flowers are framed. Let's work on our background. So for my background, I am bringing in the rhombus texture die and the rhombus panel die. These are coordinating, and I thought they were so pretty together, but I was undecided on what color I wanted to do. So I've got a panel that is indigo, which matches our frames, or I've got a panel of windy that matches our sky. And I wasn't sure which background I might like best. I don't think I like that. That's pretty. That's too dark. Let's put that one aside. And I dry embossed this. The texture die, I dry embossed that in my Platinum 6 with my gray embossing mat. I think I'm liking this one best. So let's get our lattice looking die here and attach that to our background. And I'll just put a thin strip of glue down the sides and then a couple dots here and there in the center of those cross hatches. And I'll just hold that down for a minute, and then we can start figuring out which flowers we want. I know I want a yellow one and a pink one and a purple one. You could have them overlapping. You could do all sorts of things here. If that was a different color, I would put that there. But I think we're just going to go with the 3 So let's get some foam tape behind those. Now we just need a sentiment, and for my sentiment, I've got happy birthday because this is a birthday card. Hot foiled that with my always and forever sentiment strips. I will get some foam tape behind this sentiment, but only on the first half of it because I want that to overlap. Then we can place our sentiment with our T-ruler just to make sure it's straight. And that card is done. I added my panel to a top folding card base. I added some pearls. We've got Fashion Oyster pearls from Spellbinders. And I think it came out perfect. We've got 3 frames left for another card. Please let me know what you think. Leave me a comment. Give me a thumbs up. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Everything used today will be listed and linked in the description below, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.